I always thought betrayal had a sound. Maybe the crash of something breaking, maybe shouting, maybe a slammed door. Turns out, it doesn't. Sometimes it's just silence and the sick realization that the woman you built a life with, the mother of your son, isn't just cheating. She's annihilating everything you trusted. I stood there, corner of the room, beer in hand, watching my wife of 10 years slip into a side office at her company's Christmas gala with her boss. Through a crack in the door, I saw them, lips tangled, hands moving like they'd done this 100 times before. They weren't hiding it, not even close. 10 years. A house, a family, our 8-year-old son sleeping at home. And in a single brutal moment, it meant nothing. They weren't just breaking vows. They were burying me alive financially, emotionally, legally, and they didn't even flinch. I could have stormed in. I could have made a scene. But I didn't. I didn't yell. I didn't break. Because right then, I realized something. You don't fight snakes in their den. You burn the entire nest to the ground. Before we dive into today's story, take a moment to let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how our stories bring people together from all over the world. Your comments create a community where storytelling thrives, and we're so grateful to have you here. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Now settle in, get comfortable, and prepare for a journey that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Let's get started. I used to believe betrayal came with warning signs. Late-night arguments, cold shoulders, missed dinners. Turns out that's a lie we tell ourselves to feel safe, because sometimes betrayal isn't a slow fracture. Sometimes it's a wrecking ball straight through everything you thought was real. It was supposed to be a celebration. Apex Dynamics annual Christmas gala, 5-star venue, marble floors, champagne towers, and a jazz band that sounded like it belonged in a Gatsby novel. I was there as Sienna's husband, supportive, smiling, doing my duty as the +1 to the woman I'd loved for a decade, the woman I built a family with, the mother of my 8-year-old son, Sienna, the same woman who 10 years ago looked me in the eye and promised forever. I stood there sipping my beer because screw the champagne, half listening to conversations about market trends and development permits when I noticed she was gone. No explanation. No glance in my direction. 1 minute at my side, the next. Vanished into the crowd. Something felt off. It wasn't instinct. It wasn't jealousy. It was colder than that. A chill that crawled under my skin like I'd stepped into the wrong room of my own life. I scanned the floor past the polished executives and their plastic grins until my eyes caught it. Movement. Just beyond the hallway. A side office door cracked open, barely a sliver. And there she was. Sienna. My wife. Her hands in his hair. His hands all over her. His Dominic Rivas. The CEO of Apex. Her boss. Her mentor. Her lover. I didn't move. Couldn't. The bottle in my hand felt like it weighed 50 pounds. My fingers went numb, but I couldn't loosen my grip. Through that crack in the door, I watched as 10 years of marriage shattered. Quietly, surgically. No screams, no confessions, just soft laughter, muffled kisses, and the kind of intimacy that wasn't new. No. This wasn't the first time. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced to Luca, our son, home, with a babysitter probably building Legos or watching cartoons, completely oblivious that the foundation of his family was being ripped apart in real time. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a choice. A decision. A life they'd already started building together without me. I could have kicked that door open. I could have grabbed Dominic by his $1,000 silk tie and smashed his face against the desk. I could have made a scene, but something held me back. Something stronger than rage, clarity. See, I've never been a man who acts before thinking. I build things, systems, homes, futures. I know structure. I know pressure points. And standing there watching my wife sell off our marriage like a bad investment, something clicked. They weren't just cheating. They were erasing me. I didn't need to hear the words to know. This wasn't about love. This was about money power control. A voice behind me snapped me back. "Miles, man. You all right? You look like you've seen a ghost." It was Dennis from the finance team, oblivious, clapping a hand on my back. I swallowed hard, forced my jaw to unlock. "Yeah. Not feeling great. Might head out early. Already Sienna said you guys were staying late." Of course she did, because her night was far from over. "Nah," I muttered, tossing back the rest of my beer. "Change of plans." I slipped out unnoticed into the December night. Miami's skyline glittered like nothing was wrong, like my world hadn't just imploded. I drove home in silence, knuckles white on the steering wheel, trying to process how someone could lie that perfectly, that effortlessly. The second I pulled into the driveway, the Christmas lights Sienna had insisted on stringing up last weekend suddenly felt like a joke, a neon reminder of the life I thought I had. Tina, the babysitter from next door, greeted me at the door. "Mr. Carter, you're early. Everything okay?" "Yeah," I lied. Abby asleep. Out like a light. "Everything's fine." I handed her extra cash and watched her leave, then stepped into the house. The house I designed, remodeled, paid for. The house that was supposed to be ours. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't take off my coat. I sat there, in the dark, staring at our family photos on the wall. Luca's kindergarten art projects on the fridge, the wedding portrait in the hallway, and I waited. 3 hours later, the door opened. I heard the click of heels, the casual hum of someone who had no idea their world was about to fracture. Miles. Her voice was too bright, too normal. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" She flicked on the lights. There she was, lipstick, smudged hair, messier than when she left, not even trying to hide it. "Had a headache?" I said flatly. "Oh, well, party ended late. Long night?" She dropped her purse by the stairs. "I told you not to wait up." "Yeah, you did. Richard needed help organizing some files for the Henderson project. You know how important that account is." There it was. The lie, casual, polished, like she'd practiced it in the mirror 100 times. "Richard, huh," I replied. "Not Mr. Rivas anymore." Her smile flickered. A flash of panic quickly smothered. "We've been working closely. Everyone's on a first-name basis these days." I could have told her, right there, what I saw, what I knew. But instead something colder filled my chest, a clarity sharper than rage. "I'm going to bed," I said. "Big day tomorrow." As I walked past her, I caught her scent. Dominic's cologne clinging to her skin. That night, lying beside a stranger I used to call my wife, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I planned. I barely slept. When the first hint of light broke through the blinds, I was already downstairs pacing the kitchen, like a man trapped in his own house. No, trapped wasn't the right word. Targeted. I poured myself a coffee I couldn't taste, staring at the family photos on the fridge like they belonged to strangers. Luca's school portrait, a picture of Sienna and me on vacation in Aspen 3 years ago. Her smile, easy, radiant, effortless. How many lies were hiding behind it? Even back then. I sat at the kitchen island, opened my laptop, and stared at the spreadsheet for our joint accounts. Sienna handled most of the finances that had always been her lane. I built things. She balanced books, or so I thought. But something gnawed at me now, a voice that whispered, "Look closer." I scrolled, and then I stopped. 2 transfers, both within the last 6 months. Large amounts, $95,000, then another for $120,000, both wired to an account in the Cayman Islands, authorized under my name. Except, I never authorized them. My stomach turned. This wasn't a slip. It wasn't someone hiding spending money. This was something else entirely. Something darker. I clicked deeper into our brokerage accounts. There it was, a line of credit opened in the name of Carter Holdings, LLC. My business. My signature was on the loan documents. Only, I'd never seen these papers in my life. My heart raced. My hands started shaking. I cross-checked the IP logs for the signatures. Guess whose laptop logged in the day those documents were signed hers? This wasn't just betrayal. This was premeditated financial warfare. For a few seconds, I forgot how to breathe. Then I opened the shared Google Drive folder Sienna and I had used for years. Her folder labeled Henderson Project caught my eye. I opened it. Inside, I found invoices, receipts, contracts, and then something that made my pulse stop cold. A memorandum of investment signed digitally using my name. It was a commitment to personally guarantee $2.5 million toward a luxury real estate project through Apex Dynamics. I sat back, gripping the sides of my chair, blood draining from my face. This wasn't a divorce waiting to happen. This was a setup. A trap designed so that when Apex's shady deals inevitably imploded, I'd be left holding the bag. It wasn't just about Dominic sleeping with my wife. It was about using her proximity to me to forge my name, access my credit, and make me liable for their crimes. A small voice behind me jolted me. "Daddy?" I turned. Luca stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, his Spider-Man pajamas twisted sideways. I forced a smile. "Hey, bud, you're up early." "What are you doing?" he asked, toddling over to me. "Just working on something." My throat tightened. "Working on saving our future kiddo." "Can I help?" he asked, slipping on the little tool belt I'd made him last Christmas. My chest ached. God, this kid. He deserved better than this mess. "Always," I said, patting the stool next to me. "Here, hand me that sandpaper." We sanded a scrap piece of oak together. Pointless work. Not for the wood, but for my sanity. His little hands moved carefully, eyes squinting with focus. For 5 minutes, I let his innocence soften the blow of what I was uncovering. Then the voice I now hated more than anything called from the back door. "Luca, breakfast is ready, Sienna." Luca hopped down. "Coming?" She appeared in the doorway, coffee mug in hand, acting like everything was perfectly normal. "There you two are," she said, smiling like it was any Sunday morning. "Jake, you're getting sawdust all over him." "He's fine," I replied flatly, not looking up. "Well, come in. We're meeting my parents at 11, remember?" I met her eyes. Controlled, measured. "Right. Your parents." "Yeah. Don't forget." "Actually, you go ahead," I said, brushing sawdust off my hands. "I've got a job to finish up." Her smile faltered. Just for a second. "On a Sunday, yeah?" I replied smoothly. "Client emergency." "Can't wait." Her eyes narrowed. "What client?" "The Hendersons," I answered, watching her reaction carefully. "You know how important that project is." For a split second, she stiffened. Her pupils dilated. Then she recovered. "Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Better not keep your parents waiting," I added, turning back to the workbench. Her teeth clenched. I heard the forced brightness return to her voice. "Come on, Luca. Let's go." I waited until the garage door closed behind them, then stood there for several long seconds, hands gripping the workbench until my knuckles went white. Then I grabbed my phone. First call Milo Varga, cybersecurity consultant, ex-NSA contractor, clean-cut, discreet, and expensive. Worth every penny. Miles. His voice was groggy. "You know it's Sunday, right? I need you. Now. Triple your rate." Silence for 2 seconds. "Send me the address. I'm on the way." Second call Sasha Merrick, divorce attorney. Not just any attorney, the attorney. Her reputation was legendary. Miami's elite feared her like a hurricane warning. "Sasha, it's Miles Carter." "Miles, it's been a while. What's wrong? I need you. Immediately." A pause. "How bad nuclear?" Her tone changed. Professional. Dead serious. My office, 30 minutes. By the time Milo pulled into my driveway, I was pacing like a caged animal. He stepped out, laptop bag over his shoulder, calm as ever. "Walk me through it," he said as we entered the garage. I showed him the accounts, the forged documents, the offshore transfers. Milo's eyes darkened as his fingers flew over the keyboard. "Jesus, Miles. This isn't amateur fraud. This is white-collar, multi-tiered shell company-level crime." "Exactly. We're locking this down. Full forensic clone of every device she's touched. Her emails, cloud storage, text, backups, everything. If she so much as sneezed near a document, we'll find it." While Milo set up firewalls and started mirroring every file from her devices, my phone buzzed. Text from Sasha. "Moved to 11:30. Be prompt." I turned back to Milo. "Anything dirty, copy it twice. Back it up. Encrypt it. Assume she's watching everything." He nodded without looking up. Already on it. At 11:20, I was sitting in Sasha Merrick's sleek, glass-walled office. She scanned the documents on my tablet, her red nails tapping the screen rhythmically, her lips pressed into a line. "You're not dealing with garden-variety betrayal, Miles. This is corporate-level fraud. Wire fraud, identity theft, possibly conspiracy." I leaned back, jaw clenched. "Can we stop it?" Sasha looked up, her eyes sharp as a scalpel. "Stop it." Her smile was cold, calculated. "Miles, we're not stopping it." She folded her hands. "We're going to burn it to the ground." For the first time in the past 24 hours, my pulse slowed. My breathing evened. They thought they were playing chess. Turns out, I've been the one moving the pieces all along. The thing about betrayal. Once you see it for what it is, you start seeing everything. Every fake smile, every convenient excuse, every gap in a story that used to sound normal. I wasn't grieving anymore. That stage was done. What replaced it was colder, sharper, efficient. This wasn't about saving my marriage. This was about saving my future and destroying theirs before they destroyed me. Monday morning hit fast. I didn't go to the counterattack office. I called in a personal day and set up shop right in my garage-turned-war room. Milo was already there when I walked in, coffee in one hand, typing with the other. Miles he greeted without looking up. "We've got a situation." "What kind?" He angled the laptop toward me. On screen was an internal email from Apex's financial controller, flagged in a backup Milo had cloned off Sienna's cloud. Per Dominic's instruction, the revised contracts must list Carter Holdings LLC as a guarantor to shield Apex's debt risk on the Broadstone project. Confirm Miles Carter's e-signature has been processed before Friday. I stared. Breath sharp. They forged me on more than just one deal. Oh, it gets better. Milo clicked another folder open. A second memo, this time from the legal department at Apex. If this goes south, liability exposure pivots entirely to Carter Holdings. Document trail secured. They weren't just screwing me over. They were turning me into the fall guy for their entire fraudulent operation. Milo leaned back. They think they're bulletproof. They assume you won't even know until it's too late when the lawsuits come in, when the feds come knocking. And guess whose name is all over it? Mine. My jaw tightened. Every damn line. Milo's voice dropped. Miles, this isn't just corporate fraud. This is conspiracy, RICO-level stuff. If the feds catch this before you expose it, you'll go down with them. Doesn't matter if you're innocent. Paper trail says otherwise. I ran a hand over my face. My heartbeat wasn't panic now. It was fuel. Then we flipped the script. We set the trap first. I opened my own laptop, pulled up an inactive LLC I'd registered years ago, but never used Orion Capital Ventures. Originally, it was supposed to be a vehicle for side investments. Now it was going to be my Trojan horse. We're going to bait them, I said. Make them think there's another investor. Someone stupid enough to throw real money into their sinking ship. Milo grinned. Oh, now we're talking. By noon, Milo had fabricated a full digital footprint for Orion Capital website. LinkedIn profiles, fake investment history, even an offshore contact number routed through encrypted servers. I drafted an email under an alias Daniel Cross, managing partner, Orion Capital Ventures. Dominic Sienna. Our firm is looking to expand our footprint in Southeast real estate. Your Broadstone project has come to our attention. Would like to discuss potential funding partnership. Timeline urgent, we're allocating before end of quarter. Less than 20 minutes later, a response hit. From Dominic directly. Daniel, let's set a meeting. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Apex HQ. Fast. Desperate. Greedy. Exactly as expected. Look at them bite, Milo said, shaking his head. Idiots. I didn't answer. My eyes drifted back to my family photo pinned to the corkboard behind my desk. Luca's face. His gap-toothed grin. This wasn't just about money. This was about protecting his future from the wreckage his mother was helping build. The next morning, I dropped Luca off at school like nothing was wrong. Sienna wasn't home. Client breakfast, according to her text. Translation. Dominic. I watched Luca skip toward the school entrance, backpack bouncing. Love you, kiddo, I whispered, hand gripping the steering wheel harder than necessary. At exactly 4 p.m. I walked into Apex HQ, but not as Miles Carter. Not today. Today, I was Daniel Cross. Tailored suit, clean shave, wire rim glasses, an accent that hinted money distance and untouchability. The receptionist buzzed me up. Dominic met me at the 27th floor lounge, grinning like a predator, shaking hands with fresh prey. Daniel, glad you could make it. We shook hands. His grip was firm. Performative. His watch a Patek Philippe, worth more than most houses flashed under the lights. Pleasure, I replied, cool as ice. And then she walked in. Sienna. Wearing the same confident mask she wore at home. She didn't recognize me. Of course not. Different hair, different suit, different energy. She smiled. Professional. Poised. God, I had never realized how convincing her fake face could be until I saw it from this angle. Daniel, this is Sienna Caldwell, our COO. I stood, shook her hand, looked her dead in the eyes. Pleasure, I said. No tremor, no crack. If she sensed anything, she didn't show it. That was the final nail in whatever love might have been left. Dominic dove into the pitch. Numbers, projections, growth models, everything sounded airtight if you didn't know the floorboards were already rotting. We're offering a convertible note. Favorable terms. 25% ownership at Series C. Dominic explained, pouring 2 fingers of scotch like this was already a done deal. Of course, there are minor encumbrances, Sienna added smoothly. Legacy investors, including Carter Holdings, have secured collateral, but those positions are flexible if the capital infusion is significant. I almost laughed. Flexible. You mean the fake signature you forged under my name was now a legacy investor? I nodded, playing along. Interesting. I'll need to review the books. Full cap table, debt schedules, material contracts. Dominic grinned. Naturally, we'll have our general counsel send over the NDA and data room credentials, Sienna added. I stood buttoning my jacket. Appreciated. I move quickly when the deal makes sense. We shook hands. I left. Kept the mask on until the elevator hit the ground floor. As soon as the doors opened, I ripped the glasses off, yanked the tie loose, and walked straight into the parking garage. Milo was waiting, laptop open on his passenger seat. Got it, I asked, sliding in. Milo grinned. Everything. Audio, video, the works, data room access too. They opened the whole vault. Idiots. Perfect. My fists clenched. It's time to escalate. Back home, I went straight to the home office, opened Sienna's drawer, her laptop password already bypassed by Milo, earlier opened with a click. And there it was. More than just fraudulent contracts. Duplicate invoices. Double books. Client ledgers that showed premium materials billed but substandard materials actually purchased. Falsified safety inspection reports. This wasn't just fraud against investors. It was fraud against homeowners. Dangerous fraud. As I sifted through it, the front door opened. Sienna's heels clicked against the hardwood. Miles. Her voice floated through the house. I closed the laptop, composed my face, and stepped into the hallway. Hey, how was your day? Busy. She walked toward me, dropping her bag. Productive, I said. Very productive. I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I meant it. The morning of the summit felt different. Not nerves, not anxiety. Control. Pure, unshakable control. For weeks, they'd thought they were running the game. But today they'd realized they were playing checkers while I'd been playing chess. I pulled into the valet at the Icon Bay Conference Center, the crown jewel of Miami's real estate world. This was Apex's playground, their home turf. The annual Miami Tech and Real Estate Summit was a who's who of developers, venture capitalists, and the wealthy elite. The kind of people who smiled while signing deals designed to bankrupt the guy standing next to them. I adjusted my cufflinks, checked my watch, and scanned the crowd entering. Sienna wasn't here yet. Neither was Dominic. Perfect. Milo's voice crackled in my earpiece. Test. You good, loud and clear, I replied, smoothing my jacket. All feeds are live. Audio is crystal, video uplink stable, data injections queued. On your word, we light the fuse. Good. I exhaled. Stand by. I walked inside like I owned the place, like nothing was wrong, like I wasn't about to nuke an empire right in front of 1,000 of Miami's wealthiest people. By noon, the main hall was packed. 800 chairs. Stage dead center. Apex Dynamics had secured the headline keynote. Their logo was plastered everywhere on the giant LED screens, the brochures, even the cocktail napkins. I spotted Dominic near the front navy-tailored suit, smug grin locked in place. Sienna stood beside him, flawless as always, laughing at something a city commissioner said. Watching them now, knowing everything, felt like watching 2 rats celebrate, while the ship sank beneath them. They had no idea. The MC took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce the CEO of Apex Dynamics, Dominic Rivas. Applause thundered. Dominic strode to the podium, adjusting his tie, exuding confidence. Sienna stood off stage, arms folded, eyes scanning the room, calculating as always. Thank you, Dominic started. It's an exciting time for Apex Dynamics. With our new developments across the Southeast, we're revolutionizing not just how people live, but how cities function, Milo. Execute. Copy. Lighting it now. The LED wall behind Dominic flickered. Just once. Subtle. Barely noticeable. Then the first file appeared. Confidential Apex financial records. Double book accounting. For 3 seconds, no one processed what they were seeing. The audience blinked, murmurs rising. Dominic turned confused. Folks, looks like we're having a technical glitch. The screen glitched again, then snapped fully into focus. Offshore account routing slips, forgery trails, emails between Dominic and Sienna. Make sure Carter's signature is applied before Friday. If this tanks, it's his liability, not ours. The crowd erupted into gasps. Several people stood. Cameras lifted. Phones recorded. Sienna stepped toward the stage, panic in her eyes. Shut it down. Shut it down now, she hissed to the AV tech. Too late. Milo's voice in my ear was calm as ever. Lockout successful. They've lost all local control. Dominic slammed his fist against the podium. Turn that off! But the feed kept going. Client complaints, lawsuits hidden from investors, safety inspection forgeries. The final nail dropped. Audio recordings. Dominic's own voice. If the Broadstone deal collapses, Carter Holdings is our firewall. He signed the papers. Let him take the hit. His face drained of color. Federal agents started moving. FBI jackets, 4, no 6, from the back and side doors. Quiet, but efficient. Mr. Dominic Rivas, one agent called badge flashing. Federal Bureau of Investigation. You're under arrest for wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. Panic rippled through the crowd. Phones snapped pictures. A CNBC reporter's camera locked onto the scene like a predator. Dominic froze. You can't be serious. This is a mistake. Sienna tried to backpedal toward the exit. Another agent intercepted her. Ma'am, step aside. We have a warrant to seize electronic devices related to Apex Dynamics. I don't have anything to do with this, she stammered. Funny. That's not what your emails say, the agent replied, snapping a pair of latex gloves on as he confiscated her phone. Dominic's hands were cuffed behind his back. His voice cracked. This is a setup. Who did this? Who the hell? I stepped forward. Calm. Silent. Standing just close enough for him to see me. His eyes locked onto mine. He blinked. Recognition dawning like a knife to the gut. I tilted my head. No smile, no gloat. Just one sentence delivered so quietly he'd never forget it. Checkmate. Outside, the news vans were already assembling. Milo's voice buzzed in my ear. We are officially viral. Local news has it. CNBC. Bloomberg's about to pick it up. Twitter's exploding. Good. I slid into my car, rolling down the window to watch Dominic shoved into the back of a federal SUV. Handcuffs, red face, screaming something incoherent. From King of Miami to cautionary tale in under 5 minutes. But it wasn't over. Not yet. I drove straight to Sasha's office. She was waiting with a glass of bourbon already poured. Did you see it? I asked, walking in. She laughed. Honey, I had popcorn. We sat. She flipped her laptop around. On-screen CNBC's headline, Apex CEO arrested live on stage, massive real estate fraud uncovered. Everything's moving fast now, she said. Your emergency motion for asset freeze approved an hour ago. Apex's accounts are locked. Sienna's personal assets locked. Dominic's gone. Luca's trust fund untouchable. Secured this morning. She can't touch a cent. I exhaled. For the first time in weeks, my chest didn't feel like it was caving in. But Sasha wasn't done. Now, about your divorce petition. You ready to go nuclear? Do it. Later that evening back home, I sat on the back deck watching the Miami skyline glow against the ocean. Luca was upstairs fast asleep, oblivious to the fact that his mom and her boyfriend were now front-page news for all the wrong reasons. A message pinged my phone. Unknown number. Miles. I don't know what's going on. The FBI took my phone. They're saying crazy things. Call me, please. We need to talk. Sienna. I stared at it. Let it sit. Let it burn a hole in the silence. Then I blocked the number. No reply. No closure. Not anymore. The next morning, the fallout began. The city revoked Apex's pending permits. Contractors canceled deals. Clients fled. Dominic's name was scrubbed from every luxury property in the pipeline. Even better, a surprise email landed in my inbox from a group of developers, including Howard Garrison, one of Miami's most influential. Miles, we heard what happened. You've always had a reputation for integrity. We'd like to discuss partnering with counterattack for our upcoming projects. Call me. Dominic's downfall was becoming my opportunity. I smiled. Cold. Controlled. They tried to erase me. Turns out, I'm the one holding the pen. If watching Dominic get arrested on stage was satisfying, the courtroom was something else entirely. There's something poetic about watching people who thought they were untouchable walk into a courthouse, heads down, makeup, cracking suits wrinkled from stress, stripped of their arrogance, stripped of the power they thought was permanent. This wasn't the corporate world anymore. This was a different arena. Here, paperwork holds more weight than charm. Facts crush smiles. And judges don't care how many penthouses you own. It was a doubleheader. Federal court in the morning, family court in the afternoon. 2 battlefields, 2 outcomes, both ending the same way with me standing and them crawling. The federal courtroom buzzed with media outside. Reporters lined the sidewalk. Inside, the mood was heavier. Dominic sat at the defense table thinner than I'd ever seen him. Pale, jaw clenched. His lawyer, one of those overpriced sharks who usually bullies victims into submission, looked like he already knew the fight was over. Sienna sat behind him, a spectator now. No longer a co-defendant, not yet. But her name was everywhere in those files. Her fingerprints on every forged document. She didn't wear confidence today. She wore panic dressed up in a beige designer blazer. The U.S. attorney stood voice cold, steady. Your Honor, the government submits that the defendant orchestrated a multi-year fraud, falsifying financial documents, forging contracts, and laundering money through shell corporations, including leveraging assets belonging to an unknowing third party, Mr. Miles Carter. The judge, stone-faced, unimpressed, glanced over his glasses. And the defense Dominic's attorney adjusted his tie. My client was misled by associates. There's insufficient evidence to prove intent beyond reasonable doubt. The prosecutor interrupted. Let's play the recording. Milo's handiwork echoed through the courtroom speakers. Dominic's own voice. If this tanks Carter takes the fall, that's the whole point. He signed everything. Dominic's face drained, like someone pulled the plug on him. Sienna flinched. hands clenched in her lap. The prosecutor continued, followed by Exhibit 27 wire transfers to Cayman-based shell corporations, routed through fraudulent contracts with forged signatures, Mr. Carter's signature attached without his consent. The courtroom screen lit up with signatures, email chains, bank transfers, the full map of the empire Dominic and Sienna had built and were now watching burn in real time. Dominic's lawyer tried to object, tried to claim lack of knowledge. The judge shut it down. Mr. Rivas, the judge, said, voice sharp as a gavel. The evidence is overwhelming. You are found guilty of wire fraud securities, fraud conspiracy to commit financial crimes, and aggravated identity theft. The words hung in the air. Dominic stared at the desk hands, trembling. Sentencing is scheduled for 30 days from today. Defendant is remanded without bail. A marshal stepped forward, cuffs in hand. Dominic tried to say something, some last, desperate plea, but no words came. His mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Silence. Nothing. Empty. Sienna. Oh, she wasn't walking away untouched. The prosecutor added, the government has obtained additional evidence suggesting Ms. Caldwell's role in executing the fraudulent contracts, including management of the double ledgers and concealment of financial misappropriation. Investigation remains open. She paled, blinked rapidly. Her jaw trembled, something I'd never seen in all our years together. For the first time, she was terrified. Good. By 1 p.m., I was sitting in family court. Different room, different judge, same war. Sienna sat across from me now, not as a co-conspirator to Dominic, not as a COO, but as the mother of my son, or whatever was left of that title. Her attorney whispered frantically in her ear, but it wasn't helping. She knew the walls were closing in. The judge flipped through the thick file. My attorney Sasha sat beside me perfectly still, calm, lethal. Let's begin, the judge said, voice sharp. Mr. Carter, your petition requests full legal and physical custody of Luca Carter. On what grounds? Sasha stood, her voice measured. Your Honor, my client submits that Ms. Caldwell has demonstrated gross negligence in her financial dealings, exposing the family's financial security to criminal liability. Furthermore, her involvement in ongoing federal investigations compromises her stability and capacity as a custodial parent. Sienna's lawyer shot up. Objection. Irrelevant to parental fitness. The judge cut him off. Sit down. Then she looked at Sienna. Ms. Caldwell, are you currently under federal investigation? Sienna's lips quivered. It's not formal, yes or no? Yes, she whispered. The judge's expression didn't change. And do you currently have access to any liquid financial assets not subject to seizure or investigation? Her silence said everything. No, she admitted. The judge jotted a note, then turned her gaze to me. Mr. Carter, can you confirm you have secured stable, uncontested assets, housing, and income? I nodded. Yes, Your Honor. I have independent business holdings completely separate from Apex Dynamics, unaffected by the current proceedings. Additionally, Luca's trust fund has been secured with court-verified protections. Sasha handed over a packet of documents. All verified, Your Honor. Tax records, bank statements, property titles. The judge reviewed the papers, nodding. Then she turned to Sienna. Do you have any objection to Mr. Carter assuming full custody? Sienna swallowed. Her eyes flicked to me, then to the table, then back to me. She opened her mouth, but the words didn't come. Not strength. Not defiance. Defeat. No, she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. No objection. The judge's pen scratched across the file. Effective immediately, Mr. Carter is awarded sole legal and physical custody of Luca Carter. Visitation rights for Ms. Caldwell are suspended pending the outcome of the federal investigation. Sasha didn't react. Neither did I. We didn't need to. The silence in the courtroom said everything. It was over. Outside, I walked down the courthouse steps feeling something I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. Freedom. Not the kind you get from quitting a job or taking a vacation. The kind that comes when you realize the people who tried to bury you are the ones being buried. A flash of beige caught my eye. Sienna. Standing by the curb, arms folded. Watching me. Waiting. I debated walking right past. But something in me needed this last moment. One final chapter. I stopped a few feet from her. "You did this?" she spat. No rage, no fire, just broken. You set this whole thing up. I tilted my head. No, Sienna. You did. The second you signed my name without asking. The second you crawled into bed with a man who thought ruining me was just business. Her eyes brimmed. Not with tears. With the bitter realization that the game was over. I lost everything she whispered. I stared at her. Let that silence stretch. Then said me too, when I married you. I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. That night I tucked Luca into bed in our new house. Smaller, quieter, but ours, free from the poison we left behind. "Dad," he asked sleepily. "Yeah, buddy. You're not mad at Mom anymore. I thought about it. Really thought about it." "No," I said quietly. "I'm not mad. I'm done. Done letting bad people stay in our life." He nodded like that made perfect sense. "Okay. Night, Dad. Night, kiddo." I closed his door, stood in the hallway, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I smiled. Checkmate. The first morning after everything was quiet. Eerily quiet. No subpoenas showing up at my door. No threats. No lawyers calling. No more waiting for the next shoe to drop. Because there weren't any shoes left. I'd taken them all. It was strange how freedom didn't feel loud. It felt still. I woke before the sun, made coffee in silence, walked through my new home, a modest place in Coconut Grove. Nothing extravagant. Nothing to impress anyone. Just clean open space, fresh walls, a fresh start. I stood by the window watching the early glow over the bay, feeling something settle in my chest that had been missing for a long, long time. Peace. But peace didn't mean everything was over. The fallout was still unfolding. 3 days after the sentencing hearing, the headlines were relentless. Disgraced developer Dominic Rivas, sentenced to 9 years for wire, fraud securities, fraud and tax evasion. Apex COO, Sienna Caldwell, dodges prison, accepts plea deal for her role in real estate fraud. Sienna's plea deal hit like a firestorm. The moment her cooperation was announced, the internet exploded. Blogs, podcasts, and social media dragged her for filth. Sienna Caldwell flipped faster than a Miami condo, betrayed her husband, betrayed her boss. Who's shocked? She avoided prison. Barely. Her lawyers negotiated 3 years of probation, a 6-figure fine, and 200 hours of court-mandated community service. Her assets, what hadn't already been frozen, were liquidated. House, cars, jewelry, gone. And socially. She was radioactive, the kind of person who couldn't get a table at a restaurant without whispers following her. As for Dominic, he was already a ghost. Apex Dynamics was dismantled. The state revoked every contract and permit tied to his name. His personal properties seized. His so-called friends in city government vanished the second the FBI started asking questions. His empire was dust. Luca adjusted faster than I expected. Kids are like that, resilient, flexible. He asked questions, of course, about why Mom wasn't around much, why things were different. But I didn't lie. Mom made some bad choices, I told him one night, sitting on his bed. She's facing the consequences. That's what happens when people do things that hurt others. He nodded quietly, staring at the ceiling. But she still loves me, right? Yeah, buddy, I said. She does. Her mistakes are about her and me, not you. That seemed to be enough for him. More than enough, actually. Sienna tried to call. Text, email. None of it got through. I wasn't playing that game anymore. One afternoon, about 2 weeks after the court rulings, she showed up. Right here. At the front gate of my property. No warning. I saw her on the camera feed, standing there in jeans and a plain white blouse, hair pulled back like she was trying to look normal, innocent. I didn't buzz her in. I walked out, opened the gate, met her on the sidewalk. Her eyes flicked over me, taking in how I looked, how unbothered I was, how free. You blocked me, she said, voice thin. Correct. She faltered. I wanted to talk about what I lost everything. Her voice cracked. The house, my accounts, my job, everything's gone. I crossed my arms. Funny, you didn't seem that worried when you were forging my signature. Her lips trembled. I didn't know it would go like this. Didn't you? I asked, voice razor sharp. You didn't think that conspiring with Dominic to set me up might backfire? You didn't think sleeping with him, stealing from me, and building an empire on fraud might have consequences? I made mistakes, she whispered. I know that. Mistakes, I laughed. A short, bitter sound. No, Sienna. Mistakes are forgetting to pay the electric bill. Mistakes are backing into a mailbox. What you did, that was a campaign. Calculated. Ongoing. Repeated. She stared at the ground. I have nothing left. I paused. Let her sit in that silence. Let it weigh on her. Then I said, neither do I. At least, not of the person I used to be with. Her eyes flicked up. Wide. Hurt. I didn't come here to beg, she said. I came because I don't know what else to do. Everyone's cut me off. My family, friends. Nobody wants anything to do with me. I don't know who I am anymore. I nodded slowly. Good. What? That's what rock bottom feels like, I said quietly. Sit in it. Stay there. Because you built it. And I'm not pulling you out. She blinked fast, holding back the tears that months ago might have worked on me. Not today. Not ever again. Luca, she started. Luca is fine. I cut her off. Happy, safe, secure. He has everything he needs. Everything you tried to take from him is locked where you can't touch it. She swallowed hard. Can I see him? Through the proper channels, I said. Supervised. When the court approves it, you don't show up here. Ever. Again. Sienna opened her mouth, then closed it. Her shoulders slumped like the weight finally hit her. She nodded, turned, and walked away. I watched until she disappeared down the street. Then I turned, walked back inside, closed the gate. And for the first time, I didn't feel anything. A week later, I got a call from Howard Garrison, one of the biggest names in Miami real estate development. He'd seen everything. watched the collapse of Apex, watched how I handled it. "Miles," he said, over the line, "we've got 15 historical homes on the Westbrook estate that need someone with integrity and precision. Your name came up. You interested?" I laughed. Not from disbelief. From the sheer wild contrast of where my life had been just months ago. "I'm more than interested," I said. "When do we start?" By the end of the month, counterattack wasn't just back, it was booming. The Garrison contract opened floodgates. Former clients of Apex people who'd been burned or nearly burned started calling. Word spread fast that Miles Carter was the guy who didn't cut corners, the guy who didn't fold, the guy who rebuilt not just houses but his entire damn life. I hired 5 new staff, bought a second truck, opened a satellite office. The money was good. But it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about legacy, about Luca, about knowing that no matter what storms came, I was bulletproof now. Because when you lose everything fake, what's left is real, solid, unbreakable. I started seeing someone too, slowly, naturally. Aurora Vega, an architect I'd collaborated with on the Garrison project. Sharp, direct, no nonsense, no games. We started as colleagues, then friends, then something else. There was no rush, no pressure, just ease, conversations that flowed, work that felt like partnership, laughter that didn't come with conditions. She never asked about Sienna, never pried. But one evening while reviewing blueprints over dinner, she looked at me and said, "You don't have to prove anything anymore, you know." I met her eyes. "Yeah?" I said. "I know." And I meant it. Months passed, seasons changed. Miami's brutal summer faded into a gentle fall. One Saturday, Luca and I were out front washing the truck, blasting music, laughing. He paused, wiping soap suds off his face. "Dad." "Yeah, bud." "You happy now?" I stopped. Thought about it. The betrayals, the courtrooms, the headlines, the fallout, the rebuilding, the mornings waking up with sunlight instead of dread, the nights sleeping soundly knowing no one could touch me anymore. I smiled. Real, full, free. "Yeah, kiddo," I said, ruffling his hair. "I'm happy. A year." That's how long it had been since everything burned to the ground. A year since the courtroom, since the arrests, since the silence that followed Sienna's final attempt to cling to the life she destroyed. I stood at the job site of our biggest restoration yet. A 1928 Spanish colonial home stripped to its bones, surrounded by scaffolding. Counterattack trucks lined the street. Crew laughing, working focused. Business was thriving. But it wasn't just about work anymore. It was about what this represented. Rebuilding the right way. Not on lies, not on shortcuts, not on someone else's back. As I stepped through the frame of what would soon be a new front door, I spotted Luca sitting on a pile of lumber, sketching something in his notebook, a habit he'd picked up over the last year. "Hey, buddy," I called. "What you drawing?" He held up the paper. "A house, clean lines, big windows, a backyard with a swing set. Our next project," he grinned. My chest tightened in that way only parents understand. "Looks good, kid. Might need to hire you full-time soon." "Do I get paid?" I laughed. "We'll negotiate." Things with Aurora had settled into something real, solid. She wasn't just my partner at work anymore. She was showing up for dinner, for Luca's soccer games, for the quiet Saturdays that used to feel empty. There was no drama, no suspicion, no checking her phone wondering what she was hiding. It was wild how boring honesty could feel, and how beautiful boring actually was. Sienna stayed gone. Her probation terms barred her from leaving the state, from taking on financial roles, from 100 other things that used to define her identity. She got a job at a local logistics firm, entry level. Nothing glamorous, nothing with power, just work. The kind where no one cared who you used to be. She saw Luca once a month, supervised at first. Then eventually transitioned to short, unsupervised visits at a neutral center. I kept it civil, for Luca's sake. But we never exchanged more words than were absolutely necessary. There was nothing left to say. Nothing worth saying. Sometimes I caught myself thinking about it all. About the man I used to be. The version of me that trusted blindly. That believed loyalty was automatic. That thought love was unconditional. That man died the night I stood outside that office door, watching Sienna and Dominic strip my life for parts. And honestly, good riddance. The man standing here now, the one building real things, real relationships, a real future, was someone entirely new. And better, stronger, wiser, untouchable. Luca ran over, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Dad, look!" A small crowd had gathered near the street, a camera crew setting up. Local news. I smiled. Yeah, this was becoming normal now. A year after the Apex collapse, counterattack had become the poster child for honest rebuilding in Miami's real estate world. The story was too good for reporters to resist. The guy whose wife and her billionaire boss tried to ruin him, now one of the top contractors in the state. That was the angle. Not that I needed their approval anymore. I didn't. But if telling my story meant someone else saw a way out of their own wreckage. Worth it. A reporter waved. "Miles, can we get a quick interview?" I glanced at Luca. "You cool hanging out for a sec?" He nodded, sprinting back to his notebook. I walked over. Microphone clipped on. Camera rolling. The reporter smiled. "Miles Carter, a year ago you were the victim of one of the biggest corporate fraud scandals in Miami. Now you're rebuilding some of the city's most historic homes. What changed? I thought about that. Really thought. Then said, honestly, I stopped focusing on what I lost and started focusing on what I could build." The reporter nodded. "If you could tell the version of yourself from a year ago anything, what would it be?" I smiled. "Simple. You survived. And now you're unstoppable." That night after dinner, Luca and I sat on the back porch, watching the sun set over the bay. "Dad," he asked quietly. "Yeah, bud. Do you think bad people always lose?" I thought about it. About Dominic. About Sienna. About the dozens of people who cheered them on when they were at their peak and ghosted them the second things crumbled. Not always, I said honestly. Sometimes bad people win for a while, but it never lasts. Because when you build something on lies, it falls. He nodded, processing that. "But we built the truth right." I smiled. "Yeah, kid, we built the truth." He leaned his head against my arm. "Good." As the sky darkened, a thought crossed my mind, not bitter, not angry, just a simple fact. Revenge tasted sweet. Sure, but freedom tasted better. And the best part, I didn't need to destroy anyone to get it. They destroyed themselves. All I did was survive long enough to watch. When life breaks you in ways you never imagined, when the people you trusted most turn into the very ones who try to destroy you, it's easy to believe that you won't recover. That everything you built, everything you loved, is gone for good. But the truth is, sometimes being broken isn't the end. It's the beginning. Because what's built on lies will always collapse. Sooner or later. And when it does, it's the ones who chose integrity, resilience, and quiet strength who are left standing. Stronger, wiser, unshakable. Betrayal may steal time. It may steal money. It may shatter illusions. But it can't steal dignity. It can't steal the power to rebuild, to redefine, and to reclaim your own story. At the end of the day, it's not about revenge. It's about freedom. About knowing that when you walk away from the wreckage, you're walking toward something better because you built it with your own hands, with honesty and with grace. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next story.